Do you have what it takes to be a life science translator? Coming up. Hello and welcome back to the Freelanceverse. Thanks for coming back to the channel. It's finally time for a new specialized episode on the channel. This took me a while. I had a lot of back and forth, a lot of cancellations, but now I'm happy that I finally got 3 life science translation experts on the channel. Very interesting field, kind of at the cutting edge between like medical, pharmaceutical, technology, science. So it was very interesting. And we also had a big spread of diversity today with people from all over the world. So it was an amazing episode. I could have gone on for hours, but I had to cut it short at like half an hour. You know, I don't want to make these too long. As you know, this series is very close to my heart, so I'm happy that it keeps on going on, and that is mainly also thanks to MemoQ. MemoQ has always been a supporter of the channel, and they do support the specialized series. Thank you very much for that. MemoQ Translator Pro is a tool specifically for freelance translators. It helps us to increase productivity, to improve translation quality, and also to meet tight deadlines. If you're interested in the product or in the company, make sure to click the first link in the description, which leads directly to the landing page. Now let's get on with the video. So welcome back everyone to finally another episode of Specialized. I'm sorry it took me so long. I finally have a group of experts together to bring you the life science episode. We have Carol, Yulia and Shymaa here. Thanks to all of you for participating. I think it would be the best to give a quick introduction so the viewers know who you are. Carol, would you like to start?
I can do. Thank you for having me today. I'm Carol Bereuter. I am a freelance medical translator and health writer and have been since 2011. So I think I'm classed as a dinosaur now. I work from French and German into English. I'm British, but now live in France, in Colmar.
Nice. Okay. Thank you. Yulia?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. I am a life science and medical translation and interpreter, and I work with English, Spanish, translating and interpreting into Ukrainian. And I'm really happy to be here and talk about this and exchange some interesting insights about the industry. I'm also with the ITI associations with the medical division.
For how long have you been in the industry?
It's been since 2013.
We have a lot of experience here today. Very nice. And we have Shymaa. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello everyone. I am Shymaa Hassan. I am a pharmacist by profession, working in the field of pharmacy since 2013. But in the wake of COVID-19 and the lockdowns, I found myself looking to fill my free time by exploring a new field, something still connected to my medical background and still can be done from home. So I stumbled upon the field of medical translation. And 2 years ago, I made the decision to leave pharmacy and fully dedicate myself to the medical translation. Today, I am part of the academy where I first studied translation, helping aspiring translator build their path in this rewarding field.
Nice, very nice. So my next question would have been how you got into the industry, but you just mentioned it. So you have a background in working as a pharmacist. So of course that was naturally led you to becoming a medical and life science translator. Can you say a few words about the academy that you just said? Did you do a degree in translation?
It gave a certification in the medical translation. It's in a training academy.
In a training academy, yes. Okay, so not in a university setting, but in a yes. Academy setting. Yeah. Okay, nice. Carol, how about you? How did you find your way into life science translation or medical?
I knew fairly early that I wanted to be a translator. So I went through a languages degree in the UK and then a master's in translation. I didn't really know what I wanted to specialise in, and I was lucky enough to find a mentor who sent me projects and sent me a lot of feedback on them. One day she said, I have this medical report, see how you get on with it, and I'll tell you, if you have any problems, get in touch with me. And I said, oh, it's fine. If I don't know anything, I'll call my mom. She's a doctor. And the rest is history, really.
Okay. Yulia, what about you? Do you have
It's my turn.
background?
Well,
Yes.
I am a trained linguist and translator. I do not have formal medical background. Well, in a way, I do attend a lot of courses and CPD events, of course, webinars, conferences, and the like. I think it goes without saying for every specialized translator. However, I always dreamt of becoming a doctor, but somehow when I was a student, I changed my mind. I decided to go to the languages department. So my passion for medicine and life science and all about biology and genetics as well, psychology, psychiatry still remained. And I somehow got lucky to be able to incorporate it into my translation work, and I never looked back. So
Nice. And are there any specific fields within life science that you mainly focus on?
I do tend to enjoy doing clinical trials more, and also I'm very much interested in psychology and psychiatry, especially ASD, that is autism, hyperactivity disorders, mental health, and also since the pandemic, it was very topical, very relevant, and well, since I am from Ukraine, now it's very topical for many people indeed. So we do have a lot of interesting localization projects in this domain as well, and I feel like I can contribute to this part of the industry. So mainly it's my focus.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Like how horrible circumstances can lead to very interesting projects, right? Yeah. Interesting. Shymaa, what about you? What are some text types, some documents that you're mostly working on?
I mostly work on clinical trials and medical reports.
Medical reports, yeah.
Clinical trial
nice. Okay. Carol, can you tell us a bit about your experience in certain fields, maybe specifically about, you just mentioned your first translation job, right? But after that, how, like, is there something you're mainly focused on that you're a specialist in?
More and more today, it's women's health, obstetrics, gynecology, and femtech, which is all to do with medical devices and medical technology used by women. It's a really, really interesting field. If you look at the history of medicine, the history of clinical trials and inclusion of women, it's something that I could talk about for hours, so I will not. But that's my real passion at the moment. Otherwise, quite a lot in medical devices, some oncology, and medical reports from anything to do with psychiatry through pediatrics, a little bit of medical imagery, but that's not my favorite, I have to say.
Okay. That's yeah, it's interesting. It's very broad, right? And all topics that are so, let's say, for me, very difficult, right? So I assume you have to keep up to date with a lot of information, regulatory knowledge. How do you do that? How do you stay up to date on the latest developments?
Well, I can elaborate on it since recently I've been to Düsseldorf trade fair, and that's exactly what you're talking about, the overwhelming feeling of never being able to catch up, never being able to stay on top because all of these technologies are evolving so quickly. And ever since, even from the pandemic, as we already mentioned, a lot of new things emerge constantly, and it's sometimes difficult, but also very interesting and challenging to stay tuned. So I think, we as medical translators, very often we have to deal with new things that many people get to know about later. That's one of the perks as well, but also one of the challenges, because all the new things, new terminologies, new technologies, we have to be able to visualize them, sometimes to get to know them, to see how it works, to be able to reproduce a coherent and understandable output for people to use. And in order to stay at the wave, we have to learn all the time. Speaking about myself, I usually have a lot of things planned for my education diary, like every week or every fortnight there is some webinar about discussion. How do we translate this term? How do we do with this sort of discourse? How to incorporate it in according to all the language norms, etc., etc. Reading, of course, a lot of journals like Medscape, Shymaa, I think, all the subscriptions, inundating our emails. It's like a daily hygiene to read something, to always be inside.
Interesting, yeah. And these webinars that you mentioned, how do you find them? Are these just in your communities, in the ITI network and stuff like this?
Oh yes, ATI, and especially any language and translation associations, professionals, they are extremely helpful for that. ITI predominantly is my favorite. They have the branch specifically dedicated to medical and pharmaceutical network, and it's just a gem of a chest of secrets of everything. People tend to share, to discuss. We have extremely interesting discussions among ourselves as well. We also have a neurodiverse sub-domain dedicated to linguists who are neurodivergent, and also to talk about how to tackle all the challenges.
So yeah, definitely very interesting. And a big challenge, maybe, Shymaa, can you share maybe an example of something that you worked on that was particularly challenging in life science and how you overcame it?
I can talk about my first project in medical translation. It was difficult to have. I translated the hospital policies for a hospital in Saudi Arabia. I didn't have a previous experience in working, so it was a challenge for me to can have a client. I provided my work sample and attached it to my proposal. The client accepted it, he liked it, and assigned me to the work. I had the chance also to communicate with the client. It was difficult for me. Now I can say that the task was very simple, but it was difficult for me as it was my first job. So I worked and I delivered on time, and the client liked it and assigned me to subsequent tasks, and they gave me a positive feedback, 5 stars. So I shared it on LinkedIn, and then it helped me to get more tasks.
Oh, okay.
So it was a challenge for me. Also, my first work in clinical trials. Clinical trials is a very important. Clinical trial documents are very important. So you need to be more accurate. The first time is the most difficult time. So it was also a challenge for me. But translating medical reports for patients who are sick who are having a big problems and they need to know their real condition when they are not fluent in English, so they need you to translate their document to know what's the real condition they have. It's more difficult for me, and I feel it's more difficult for me when I translate medical reports for children, for health conditions in for children.
So it's more difficult on an emotional level, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
When your client is
imagine.
patient, when your client is a patient and they need to know their condition, their child condition, and you need to tell the truth.
That's true, yeah. I've never thought of that. That must be tough. What a first project you had, huh? Working on guidelines for a hospital as a first project, that's incredible. And it's very nice that this then helped you, the good result helped you to find more jobs and to establish yourself in this industry. So well done. That's a unicorn scenario that everyone watching would like to have. So that's amazing. Carol, maybe can you link a bit to that, what Shymaa just said, with that emotional stress that probably this work can have. I assume there is also like an ethical line that you need to have in this field, right? Can you share a bit about this? I'm not exactly sure what the question is, but maybe you can just explore it.
Absolutely. And interesting, building on what Shymaa said, I've previously had a client, I translated some medical records, sent them back to the client, and the client rang me and said, "But what does it mean?" And I said, "I'm not a doctor. I can't interpret those I can tell you what's written on the page, but I can't tell you what that means for your health. I have a certain amount of knowledge now, but I'm not a doctor. I'm not covered by my insurance policy to tell you what they mean." And ethically, for me, that's an absolute no. And I know that from speaking to interpreters, it's something that they come across more often. I think, Yulia, you might be able to speak more to that. But that line of translating but not getting involved, and I've had another project where that's come up, where that one was particularly emotionally difficult because I translated some medical records for a patient and the prognosis got worse and worse, and then the records stopped. And I sort of waited for a while and thought, well, maybe there'll be something miraculous and the patient will come back, and it didn't. And I think it's really important, if someone is looking to get into medical translation, to be aware that it can be emotionally quite difficult, and to have a good support system there and to know how to deal with that while respecting confidentiality.
Yulia, can you add to that? Yeah.
I'd like to add and build on that. Indeed, both Shymaa and Carol are very correct about this emotional strain, emotional toll we have. And I'd like to elaborate more on confidentiality and this supportal system Carol mentioned. It's of huge importance. Those who consider specializing in life sciences and medicine, they really have to pay a lot of attention to this part, as this is just inevitable, and this is a pillar construction, the founder construction of our job. Confidentiality is something we have to keep in mind all the time, and ethics, and not diving into the emotional soup as well, because what this term vicarious trauma, every helping professional is usually prone to it, and this is something we really have to work on in order not to be involved too much. We have to empathize, we have to be helpful professional, but as Carol aptly put, yes, I'm not a doctor. And we have to, this is also ethical, this is highly professional, to understand your boundaries. But yes, I'm not a doctor, I cannot interpret this. We have to be polite. Sometimes as an interpreter, yes, people are going to tell you the whole story in the hallway before you actually go to the doctor. And this is very difficult. This is what all these associations are good for. They have all this code of conduct. They have training, specific training that they keep you attuned. They try to support you how you can behave, because sometimes it might be really, really difficult as real people. We have to remember that these are people, these are human beings with their own problems. They come to doctor not to share their good stories and good news sometimes, and we have to be wary of that. We have to take care of ourselves.
Definitely, yeah, very well put. Especially with interpreters, I can imagine that you are in these situations, you are the person that speaks the same language as the patient, so you immediately become this trustworthy person to them, right? But you're not there to be a support system, right? You're there to just lay out the facts neutrally as possible. So yeah, that must be tough. I want to get to one more very important question that I think is important in this discourse, which is specialized terms, jargon terms. Maybe Shymaa, you work with Arabic, right? Are there some medical terms, some pharma terms that you know from your pharmaceutical background that they just don't translate well from, let's say, from English to Arabic? And how do you handle these problems?
Well, for these terms, like placebo, placebo is a term that has no specific translation in Arabic. So you need to give a term that can have the explanation of this term. So my translation was a fake drug. الدواء الوهمي. So when you translate الدواء الوهمي into English, it's a fake drug, but not placebo. So this is an example. Also, I need to talk about localization. Localization in Arabic is very, very crucial. So I have an example. In Arab world, in Arab countries, there are many terms that can be translated into different translations according to the country. For an example, the word admission. Admission, it means entering the hospital. So when you translate it as a standard Arabic, you translate it as دخول المستشفى, entering hospital. But for Saudi Arabia, you translate it as tanweem, which when it's translated into English, it's sleeping. So when I translate it for an audience that is not based on Saudi Arabia, they cannot understand.
Yeah, they would be very confused.
Localization is very important in this case. Some terms have two translations, a complicated one and a simple one. When I have a target audience, which is a patient, so I choose the simple one. But in case of healthcare professionals, I choose a complicated one. For an example, the term endometriosis. It means migrated lining of the uterus. When my target audience is a healthcare professional, I use the complicated translation, الانتباز البطاني الرحمي. When I use this for a target audience, which is a female patient, it will be scared. The term is complicated and cannot be understood by her. So I use a simple one, بطانة الرحم المهاجرة, which is meaning the migration of the lining of the uterus. It's a simple translation. So I have always to make the decision, to make the choice, to choose the right term.
Nice. Very interesting. Thank you very much. I've been asked under many specialized episodes to have an Arabic translator and in the panel, so I'm very happy that you're here and you can share these specific insights, because especially Arabic is spoken in so many countries, right? So there must be, in localization, there must be endless examples. we are already running out of time. This went so fast. Thank you, all of you. I always like to finish the videos by a word of advice, of motivation for people watching. Carol, in 1-2 sentences, what would you like to give to someone that's watching this video?
I'd say don't underestimate yourself and your skills, and don't underestimate the importance of finding colleagues you can trust, finding your network. It goes back to what Yulia has been saying, what Shymaa has been saying about going to the experts, going to the people who can help you, and really finding out as much as you can from them, and finding people that you can lean on when you need to.
Yulia?
So I would just like to second Carol, but also I'd like to add that you need to be very interested in this. I mean, it's just very banal and very simple, straightforward, but you should be really genuinely interested in the subject if you want to become a life science or medical translator.
Yeah.
That's going to make so much
not
difference.
Just something you quickly decide. It has to come from purpose,
Yes.
right? Yeah. Okay. Nice. And Shymaa, to finish the video, what is your word of advice?
I would say love the medical translation. Be patient with yourself. Invest in yourself, in your training. Read books. The first year is the most difficult year.
Thank you so much to all of you. The viewers at home, all the links to the panelists are in the video description. So please make sure to reach out to them. They're lovely people. That's why they are here and want to help you guys to become future colleagues. And maybe you will collaborate with some of them in the future. That would be great. Thank you so much to all of you for coming today, for taking the time. And yeah, we keep in touch. Thanks to all of you out there for watching, and I see you next Monday with the next video. Bye-bye.